Hey everyone, in this video I will run you through my process of building this maple and walnut end grain chessboard. If you like my video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get updates on my next video. Thanks. Like with almost all of my projects, I start with milling rough lumber. Here you see me flattening one of the faces of the maple piece I'm starting off, as well as one of the edges 90 degrees to the face that I planed, and continuing here with my maple piece that I need. After having one face and one edge ready on my boards, I bring them over to my benchtop planer and make sure that the other face is flat as well. Since I needed 4 centimeter squares for my chessboard and I didn't have any thicker stock, I decided to glue 2 of those pieces together to make sure that I have a bit more than 4 centimeters. After all the clamps were off, it was time to straighten up my boards that I glued together. Here you see me using my crosscut slat, making sure all the sides are 90 degrees to each other. After the boards were perpendicular, it was time to rip them into 4 centimeter long strips that will later on give me the 4 centimeter chessboard squares that I need. After having 4 maple and 4 walnut strips ready, I glued them together in this alternating chessboard pattern. As you can see here, I'm removing the clamps from the glue up. After cleaning up all the glue squeeze out, it was time to go over to the crosscut slat and actually cut the final pieces to size. With the thickness here, you determine the height of your chessboard. I went for 2 centimeters. To be able to make the chessboard a bit thicker and using less solid wood, I decided to use a 12mm MDF panel below the actual strips that you see me cutting here to size. Now it was actually the first time to see how the board will look like later on by alternating and flipping each of those strips that I cut before. You see me aligning them to make sure that I'm getting the pattern that I want. After I had all the pieces aligned the way I wanted and I got the look that I was going for, I was ready to glue them up. I used here my fingers as a glue spreader and gluing together all the different strips I had, making sure having ample amount of pressure on all the sides. The next day it was finally time to look at the result of the glue up, and for the first time holding the full board in my hands. Since the glue up wasn't fully flat, I used my router slat to flatten the board so that both sides were actually as flat as possible. Here you see me actually doing one of the biggest mistakes in this project when gluing the finished boards to the MDF panel. Since the underside wasn't fully 100% flat, I forced it down to the MDF board, thinking that the MDF board is solid enough to hold the board down, but unfortunately after a couple of hours I had a huge bend in it because the solid wood board was stronger than the MDF, and I had to start over and use my router sled again and mill it down so that it was straight again. And by that I lost some millimeters of thickness of the final board. Since I'm still trying to figure out this whole filmmaking and filming, I messed up here and I forgot to film how I did the whole border / frame of the chessboard. But as you see here, I used 4 walnut pieces that I just butt jointed and glued together on the side of the chessboard. For simplicity, I used dominoes to make the alignment better and also make sure that the board was at the end 100% flat and had no bow in it from my mistake with the MDF. I'm using my go-to finish, Ruby Monocoat, to finish this chessboard. Here I'm using Ruby Monocoat Pure. It's very simple. You only sand till 120 grit and then you apply it with a sponge or a rag. You wait for 10 minutes and then you can just wipe off the excess and you're done. One of the fastest and simplest and best looking finish I have ever used. Here you see a final shot of the chessboard. I'm really happy how the board turned out, especially with the end grain pattern. That looks very special here, and especially also this intense black the walnut has turned to with the Ruby Monocoat Pure. If you have liked this video, I would really appreciate to get your like and also see you subscribe to my channel. Thanks guys.